Hello guys, so today is the other optional video that was asked by a student. Remember, I asked you to give me ideas about subjects that I could talk about, so just feel free to ask me anything, whether it's about arts or politics or economics. I absolutely have no problem. It can be something you want to know more about, or it can also be something that you don't really understand. It can be a conflict, it can be anything else. It can be also fake news. It can be about checking news that you don't really know if it's correct or not. I will absolutely have no problem with that. I can't remember now if I promised you a video for every class, or if I said there would be one per week. But honestly, it's not that of a work, but the research that I have to do before requires a little bit of time. So I'll try to move here because you can see my plants like that this way. So yeah, I will definitely have a check if you have any ideas or anything like that. But yeah, feel free to do it. I will post, I think, one video per week. I don't really know when. It will depend on my inspiration, I think. I think I would just do it like that. If you just saw how I put my I just put my phone on a lamp, and I make sure that it holds. But it's very practical, I have to say. It's very practical. It doesn't move, but it's very functional when you don't have material. So here is the thing. I'm just going to, so I have this request from the student that we talk about the song from U2, Sunday, Bloody Sunday. I'm just gonna play for you just the beginning. So sorry, I'll be back.
This song is Sunday, Bloody Sunday.
It's a little bit faster than what is supposed to be, like the rhythm, but okay, because of the copyright of YouTube and because of any copyright, I'm not allowed to play the full song. I don't even know if I'm even, like, the timing that I stopped, like, yeah, I don't even know if it's correct or not. Oh, sorry, I bumped in my lamp. Okay. So, yeah. So, Sunday Bloody Sunday is a song from the group, the Irish group U2, and the singer is called Bono. He's very famous for charities. He's a very human person. And so here it is. So the song was written in 1983, and it refers to events that happened in the early 1970s. Just so that you know, I'm not inventing everything. I took notes, right? It's just so that you know, if you see me reading or something, I am definitely reading. So historical context. Wait, I'm just finding my way. Here, right in the middle. Okay. Historical context is it's referring to two bloody Sundays. Bloody Sundays. Sunday, you understand the word Sunday. It's the day, okay? And bloody, it means that there was blood during those days, meaning that there were fights and shots, and that people were killed. Some of the people that happened to be there were killed. Referring to two bloody Sundays, the first one was in Dublin in 1920. The second one was in Derry in 1972. One that Bono has known because he was born in 1960. So that's what it is. So it refers to two marches or demonstrations, it's the same word, that happened in Ulster, otherwise called Northern Ireland, belonging to the UK. Those marches were defending civil rights for Northern Ireland and peace between a Protestant majority, Protestant, referring to English people, and the Catholic minority, you have to know that the Irish are Catholics. And during the Derry March or Derry demonstration, Derry is a city, okay, in Northern Ireland. 14 Catholics were killed by the British Army. So it is what it is. And with this song that is clearly having an opinion about the question and clearly taking a decision about who they agree with, whether they are for the crown or against the crown. It's definitely clear that they support Ireland and the independent part of Ireland. Where was I? Because I got little marks everywhere. Okay, places like Belfast in Northern Ireland are the typical example of a division of religion and politics. A part of it is for independence, being Catholic, and believing in unionism. And this part, basically, if you ask them, they want to join the Republic of Ireland. Okay, it's pretty logical. The other part of the population wants to follow the Queen or the Crown, otherwise called Royalists, and they're mostly Protestants. Okay, so Protestant like English people. If you just go, I'll just finish with that. I'll just give you the whole story about the Sunday, Bloody Sunday, because this is just the consequence of a whole story behind. And so you need to understand where it's coming from, all those conflicts and those tensions in Northern Ireland. The Irish War of Independence took place between, wait a second, yeah, okay. The Irish War of Independence took place between 1919 and it finished in 1921 against the British, of course, ending in a partition or a division, it's pretty similar, of Ireland. Ireland was colonized by England between 1536 and it lasted until 1691, when the British settlement was absolutely total. Okay, it doesn't mean that in 1691 they left. It means that they were completely settled and that they were there and they didn't have to fight anymore. Talking about the British, right? They imposed their politics. I absolutely have nothing against British people. Okay, it's just history. Okay, it's just facts. I am absolutely not giving my opinion. I have British friends and they're amazing and they're absolutely sorry for what happened to Irish people, and Irish people can, you know, have a pretty good contact with English people today. So, okay, don't misunderstand me. I'm just giving you facts. British people imposed their politics, religion, thus their language. You have to know that Ireland had an original language. It's called Gaelic. It's the reason why they have such a strong accent, because their language basically influenced their way of speaking English. It's pretty much the same for Canadians, for Belgium, for all those countries that used to have a language and then got another one. Also Gaelic, it's just between brackets, just for your culture. Gaelic is taught in school, just like a second language, but it's considered as a dead language, and so a lot of people are not really interested in it. It's pretty much considered as Latin. They're gonna kill me. My workmates, if they hear that, they're gonna kill me, because they don't like to hear that it's a dead language. And it's very sad for Gaelic, because it used to be their language, but because they were imposed to forget about it and absolutely use English, it became a language that nobody uses anymore. So it's still used in some songs. There is a category of song that is specialized in this language. Not everybody understands. Fewer and fewer people understand this language, even though it's taught in school. And I have to say it's very sad. But it's fascinating if you have the chance to study Gaelic for your own pleasure, or maybe even for if you're going to Ireland and you have the chance to I don't know, for any reason have access to Gaelic language, it's absolutely fascinating. You see letters that are similar to French or any other language or English, but the pronunciation is absolutely amazing. I will tell you all about my experience afterwards, because I can give you historical facts, but I still have to put a little bit of juicy news. I love juicy news. Okay, so former language Gaelic, it was forbidden for them to use Gaelic because, of course, British people would not understand. People could be killed for not obeying to give financial participation to the crown, or even cattle or harvest to the crown. For a long time, they were forced to give their cattle or harvest so much that they would not have enough for themselves. So a lot of them would starve, which means that they would die because they were hungry. Starve, yes. This is what you say when you have a class before 12 o'clock and you're just starving, like you're gonna die because you're hungry. Then because it was not enough, of course, because it was not enough, the potato famine happened from 1845 to 1852. And so because I have some students that will probably watch this video, even if they're not supposed to, from Seconde, and we're gonna do it in class, I'm not gonna focus on the potato famine anyways, since this video is supposed to be for première. Especially for the European section, you're supposed to know what this is. But to make the story short, to cut the story short, the potato famine was a problem of potatoes. Because of the weather and the ground, they would rot. Okay, which means that they would get black very, very quickly. They wouldn't be they wouldn't be good enough to be eaten, but and it was the source of food for Irish people at the time, and so they couldn't eat it, so they would just starve, or they would eat it, get sick, and then die. So they asked for help. They asked for help to England, and because they became independent no, it has nothing to do. But anyways, they were just left aside. They were just left aside by the United Kingdom, and especially by England, who said that they were a cursed population because they had a different belief. They had originally they were completely different, so they would get no help from them. And there was a lot of there was a lot there were a lot of debates about that reaction and behavior. And I think that a politician, I don't know who and I don't know when, but I can remember that there was one who apologized for that, for not reacting, for not saying anything, for not doing anything. And it was absolutely intentional, because everybody was speaking about laissez-faire policy. And everybody would just say, oh, they're just a cursed population, just leave them with what they do. It's God's punishment. Okay, so then we get to Thatcher, who was the prime minister in the 1980s. She fought against the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, that was against miners and trade unions. So she was a conservative prime minister, and conservative politicians, they're really for leaders, they're really for wealthy people, and anything that has to do with workers and trade unions and groups of workers that would make decisions and take decisions to make sure that the conditions of work would change, they don't really like that. So the Republic of Ireland had a lot of problems with her, including in Northern Ireland. Okay, so it's a song that is also used for any military political conflict that is going on. It became a very symbolic song, and it's actually used today for Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Also, it was also used again for the terrorist attacks that occurred in France. So anytime there is blood due to rifles and weapons, this song is basically used. You can, to know the first extract that I played for you at the beginning of the video, basically refers to the sound of shots, and it's intentional. And if you hear the song from the beginning to the end, not focusing on the lyrics, but just focusing on the music, it's very heavy. There's a lot of tension, and yeah, and I really feel the pain when I'm listening to the song. Okay, so now getting back to my experience in Ireland, because I actually spent 1 year in Dublin, and I had the chance to talk with a lot of people and even to go to Belfast. So the first thing that I heard about Northern Ireland was in the staff room when I was in school, because I was a French assistant. So I had a partnership with the teachers, and so I would get a group of students with me, and we would speak French together, and they were absolutely nice. And I really I feel nostalgia with about that time, because they were absolutely amazing. So that's what it is. So the first time that I discovered this notion of division in Northern Ireland was in the staff room, because some of the teachers were coming from Northern Ireland. Not a lot of them, but a few. And basically, I talked with them because that was very interesting, and they told me that in function of where they lived, in function of the school they were going to, they could know whether they were unionists or royalists. And I thought it was absolutely interesting and fascinating. You don't have to say what political opinion you have. Just knowing the school you went to, or the place where you live, the neighborhood you live in, especially in Belfast, meant absolutely everything about your political position. Do you know about politics? Usually it's a family affair. If your parents usually have a political position, it's very likely that the child is going to share the same political opinion. Very likely. It's absolutely not systematic, but that's what it is. So that was my first approach of Northern Ireland. Then I took a touristic bus, a van, those typical vans that we take. And so we went to Belfast. And the first thing that we were asked to do, it was in 2014. If I remember well. No, what am I saying? No, it was 10 years ago now. God, I'm not getting any younger. So it was 10 years ago. So it probably changed. I don't know. So 10 years ago, I took a van with other people coming from different places, tourists. And we went inside Belfast. The first thing that we noticed is that there was a wall sharing the unionist side and the royalist side. You can also see murals. So murals are drawings that are drawn on the walls of the houses. And in function of where you're going, if you're going in the royalist neighborhood, it will be all about the crown and all the people who defended the crown. And if you're going to the unionist side, then you will see people who defended the independence of Ireland. So it's pretty interesting. Plus, I also remember two things. The first thing being that we were driving and we wanted to take photos of the murals and go out of the van to have a better perspective. And we were asked not to go out, to stay inside the van because of risks of tensions for one reason. And it's something that followed us all along our way. We were in a van, and that was written on it Ireland at the back. And so it pretty much meant that we were unionists, which was a bit of a problem in the royalist neighborhood. So the driver told us that there had been shots one day, not, you know, shooting at somebody in particular, but just to scare people. And that's what it is. I'm not trying to scare you. Belfast is an amazing city, absolutely amazing, and it's very, very interesting to get there. It was 10 years ago, so I don't know how it goes today. And maybe the driver was a little, you know, easily scared, just like my cat. I know what this is. But yeah, I'm just telling you about my experience. And then the other experience that I had was, we had a moment to go shopping. So we went all down the van, and I asked, sorry, my cat is snoring. I can't even hear myself. The thing was that the driver stayed in his van. And I said, "You're not having a coffee or anything, because it's a long drive. It's a long way." And he said, "I'm not getting out of my van. I'm not leaving my van alone, because the last time I did that, I left my van in a parking lot or in a car park, and when I came back, it was burnt. Absolutely burnt. So it was a problem for the tourists that I had brought with me, that I had taken with me, because I had to go back to Dublin or Northern Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland by train. And it was absolutely insane to organize all that and make sure that they were back in Dublin on time, the time that was planned. And so yeah, so it's just to tell you about my experience. And so yeah, but apart from that, I'm pretty sure it's a very nice place. Well, I really enjoyed it, and I thought that even though there was something that was a little dangerous, it gave it a little bit of something that was exciting. It gave a little bit of excitement, even though it was pretty insane. But I'm pretty sure it's getting better today. So this is what the song Sunday Bloody Sunday is about those days where when there have been fights, and usually it has nothing to do with two communities fighting against each other, even though you can see it's still going on when you're going there, 10 years ago. But he's absolutely denouncing the behavior of cops representing the crown, and not accepting that, you know, people can demonstrate and march peacefully, and willing to have peace in a shared place like that. So this is what it is. And just yeah, I won't get back to the Israeli Palestinian conflict, because it makes so much sense that you know, this song is also used for that type of conflict, because England has, you know, it's, you know, part to play in this conflict as well. I mean, definitely. Duh. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it taught you a little bit of culture. I hope you managed to understand a little bit of what I said. And I hope that for the student that was interested in this subject, you actually learned something, and even for the rest of the people. All right, so if you have any idea of content, help me. Do me a favor, let me know. All right, so take care. I see you next time, and do not forget, it's difference that makes the world.